Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, no matter the time you're watching this video. So for our project one, we decided to do a survey on how does sleep affects your everyday performance, and it was part of a health awareness survey that we were trying to do. So our group are presented here today, and we are going to present our findings and our topic and for you to understand it in a more deeper and better way. So for the introduction, it will be presented by Kudriame. For the methodology, it will be presented by PG Karyakais. And for the discussion and the conclusion, it will be presented by me. So we will carry on with the next slide. So for the table of contents, we have the introduction first, the methodology, the discussion, and then the conclusion. So I'll pass this time to Kudriame to explain to you guys on the introduction.
Thank you, Roshan Dev Daniel. So recently we did a project, a survey about health awareness. We focus on how does sleep affect our life or our daily performance. So as we know, sleep plays a vital role and it is important for us, for our health and our body. Because it can sometimes boost up your energy every day, as you know, right? True, right, guys?
Correct.
True. Correct. Okay. And that is because when we sleep, your body can stay well rested, which is at the same time can like repairing your body or like enhance your body attribute. Okay, so by doing the survey, we can get to know the sleeping routine of UTM students, among UTM students, that might lead to other consequences for them. We aim to understand the difficulties that are faced by the student in achieving proper REM sleep and getting the right amount of hours needed. Next slide, please. So we also want to find out if the student are aware of the consequences that we mentioned just now for not getting enough sleep. Okay, based on the student answer, so we want to see the majority factors faced by student. So we will also be able to come to a conclusion as well as help reduce these issues to ensure the student are aware of their health and avoid complications and critical issues. So in a way, these studies and survey conducted would help in lowering the curve of health-related issues due to sleep deprivation.
Okay, next, for the methodology part, I will be explaining or brief a little bit about some of the information, such as number of respondents, how do we conduct the study, how do we collect the data, and method do we use. Okay, next. Okay, firstly, for the number of respondents, our aim for the amount of respondents we wanted to achieve was initially 60, and we managed to achieve that within a week also. Okay, secondly, for the method, for the how, for the question, how do we conduct our study? For this project, we use Google Form as a mod or a medium of conveying the questions to the students of UTM Johor Bahru. So basically, our group members shared the Google form link across platforms available such as WhatsApp and Telegram to get people to respond. Okay. Thirdly, how do we collect our data? The responses from the survey was generated into a Microsoft Excel file, which enabled us to arrange the data accordingly and systematically before it was imported into another software for graphical representation. Lastly, for the method do we use, the software that is used for creating a graphical diagram to represent the data is the R Studio or the R programming software. We are able to generate various types of graphical diagrams that is suitable for the data to achieve the best representation for our findings. That's all from methodology part.
All right, thank you, PG. For the discussion, we split it into many different parts. And for the first part was, while doing this survey, we wanted to get a mixture of variables. And this was because we wanted to see the differences between the difference in understanding sleep schedules and sleep patterns of people and the students of UTM, of course. And for the first part, we asked them a question, which was their gender. And for the gender, it was equally distributed with a mix of both male and female respondents to ensure that the survey and the result was balanced and we had the right variables. As I said, it enables us to have a difference. The same way for the faculties. We wanted to find out whether the schedule or the course that they were taking played a role in their lack of sleep. And therefore, we managed to get respondents from 4 different faculties. So it enabled us to get different set of data for the comparison later on. We also asked them if of their average hours of sleep the students get every night. And this was to find out that over the past couple of months or years, how much of sleep they have been getting every night. And this was to find out if they were getting the right amount, as well as further on later on, we wanted to relate it to the factors as to why they get less sleep. And so for that, we needed to know if they were getting the right amount of sleep and the recommended hour of sleep. And based on the results that we got and the graphical representation, which I will show you later, the majority of the students were getting about 4 to 7 hours of sleep every night. We also asked them to rate their sleep out of 5, out of the scale of 5. And this was because we wanted them to tell us whether they were getting the proper REM sleep. Because even though they could get 7 hours of sleep, that doesn't ensure them that they are able to achieve REM sleep, because it may be disturbed by many factors. And so we wanted to relate it to the bad quality of sleep that they had and to see if there was any effect, if that they weren't getting the proper REM sleep and their sleep wasn't as good. And so from the data that we collected, majority of the students sleep, they are moderate. And that means out of the scale of 5, it was between 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And that was good because only a small amount of them actually suffer from not so good sleep, while most of them rated it from being moderate to really good. We also wanted to find out if the students of UTM and our respondents knew about the consequences of not getting enough sleep. And to our surprise, a majority of them did not know about it. They did not understand the short-term or long-term effects on health from not getting enough sleep. And this was a way that we could relate it to our graphical representation and to the data we collected from them getting only 2 to 5 hours of sleep every night because they probably were not aware of the consequences. And this was shown that most of them who only got 2 to 5 hours of sleep every night did not actually know about the consequences of not getting enough sleep. And as Ame said in the introduction, this survey was to find out about the factors as to why they were not getting enough sleep. And so we asked them of the issues that they face in this day and age, and we wanted to narrow it down. And we came up with a bunch of answers, and the factor with the highest amount of answer was that they have too much work to do. And thankfully, one of the answers, which was mental health, only got a few replies, and that was a good thing, as that shows that the mental health of the students in UTM is not that bad, and majority of the students do not face that issue. And a large amount of these students who have too much work are the same students who are only getting an average of 2 to 5 hours of sleep. And for this part, we decided to ask them if they knew the credit hours for the current semester. So the reason between this was to find a relation between their faculties and the credit hours and to understand whether it played a part in affecting their sleep. Of course, not all of the students who were having more credit hours were sleeping less than the recommended time, but majority of them were, no matter the faculty. So it didn't matter which faculty they came from, but most of them who had more credit hours this semester were facing an issue with the lack of sleep. And we also asked them for the CGPA for their current semester. And this was because sleep patterns are usually built over time and over a couple of days or weeks of continuity of not sleeping enough. And so we wanted to know if their sleep patterns have affected their results or not. And or is it one of the factors that affect their results? It may be them getting lack of sleep because of working too hard to achieve those results and pushing themselves too much. And that is what has damaged their sleep schedule. There is the possibility of that, and we wanted to know if there was a way to find that out. And our final question was a three-part question, which was, how does the lack of sleep, of them getting lack of sleep, affect their concentration, understanding, and their body performance? And we asked them to rate it out of a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being really bad and 10 being 1 being really good and 10 being really bad. And as we know, one of the short-term effects on health from lack of sleep is the feeling of tiredness and lethargic. And so most of them, and majority of them, based on the graphical representation and the data we collected, rated it between the scale of 5 to 9. And this meant that they were not really able to perform, and most of them felt tired. And most of these students were those students who were getting 5 hours or less of sleep. So we wanted to find out if there was so we used this as a relationship to relate it to those students who were getting the right amount of sleep every night and how they performed and how they feel and rated it compared to those students who didn't get enough sleep and how they perform on a daily basis based on the concentration, understanding, and body performance. And so these are some of the graphical representations. And so for the histogram, we have the average hours of sleep every night. As you can see, the hours of sleep are majority of them sleep between 4 to 7 hours every night, and therefore that was the highest amount that we managed to achieve. We also have a bar chart in which we ask them to rate their sleep out of 5, and most of them rated it at 3, and very minimum number of people actually rated it at 1 and 2. And this was a good thing because most of them were getting a moderate to good sleep every night. We also have a bar chart to represent the factors as to why they were not getting enough sleep. And we have, as you can see, based on the bar chart we have, there were bad habits, bad time management, extracurricular activity, mental health, and too much work. And the highest factor was too much work. And in second place is bad habits. And these two was the highest and the factors that we needed to find out as to why the students were only averagely getting about 4 to 7 hours of sleep, or even less than that, those who were in the scale of 5 to 2. We also have a STEM and leave representation for the credit hours this semester. And based on the STEM and leave representation that we have, the majority of them have credit hours of 18, followed by 16 and 17, which were the three top highest amount of credit hours. And here we have a frequency distribution for the CGPA. And as I said before, the CGPA was done to find out if there was a relation to their results being bad because of the sleep schedule, or it being a factor as to why they do not get enough sleep. We also asked them to rate their sleep out of 10. Rate their concentration and understanding out of 10. And so we have a scatter plot to show you, as well as um, a, a box plot. And basically the box plot, as you can see, this was done for their body performance during the day. And a majority of them do not perform well when they get only 2 to 5 hours of sleep. And those who voted and rated their body performance during the day in the scale of 5 to 9 were those who were only getting 2 to 5 hours of sleep a day. And so for our conclusion, we were able to relate that the average hour of sleep does have an effect on health. As we can take away from our responses, a large number of them who averagely only get about 2 to 5 hours of sleep were struggling and were unable to concentrate, understand, or perform physically during the day. This is because the brain is unable to rest and achieve, the body isn't able to achieve REM sleep, in which the brain goes into a rest mode so that your body can heal itself, where the tissues and cells that were broken during the day are all built up again. And therefore, when the brain does not get the rest that it needs, it starts feeling tired, and the ability and the cognitive response to understand and to perform throughout the day is slowed down, and is a bad and is one of the side effects of not sleeping well, even though it's a short-term side effect. But in the long run, if this continues, it could have bad consequences on the lack of sleep. And so these factors, although can be overcome easily, but it should not be taken lightly, as this is the future of the students and the society. It is also important for us to educate the students and on the health awareness and to focus upon sleep, because even though it may seem like a small issue, it should not be taken so lightly. Based on the data that we receive, we know a lot of them did not know about the consequences of not getting enough sleep on health, and therefore it may end up being a detrimental effect on them. And so this is all for our presentation. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.